Okay, folks, can you see and hear me? Let me know if you can see and hear me. Hello. Reception has improved. That doesn't mean anything. Can you see and hear me? Say yes, we can see and hear you. Okay, good, good, excellent. No, my internet completely died, folks. My phone, everything just went completely bazooked. It happened earlier today, but it came back up right away. But anyway, I was finishing up. I was just about ready to start Liebhaber's question. So anyway, thanks for sticking in there, guys. When that happens, it hasn't happened in quite a while. They are doing some work here on my street today, so I don't know if that's doing this or what's going on. Um, but yeah, I apparently am back. You might have to refresh your window. So anyway, I was just finishing up the comments on esoteric writing and that reading from that book. Again, I want to hold it up so that you guys can get a hold of it if you're so inclined. It's Philosophy Between the Lines, and then the subtitle, The Lost History of Esoteric Writing by Arthur M. Metzler. A good book on precisely that topic. All right, now let's go to Liebhaber, who has a similar question. He says, pardon me. He says, would it be correct to say that Gnosticism is a leech that survives by sucking the blood of broken systems of human organization? If, as you say in the Gödel Constitution webinar, language is the ultimate basis for any formal system, then attacking language is to attack the formal system. Bingo, absolutely. By never declaring its own system, but attacking a system underlying whichever power structure it wishes to subvert. And Liebhaber, that is a perfect way of expressing my approach to Gnosticism. Most people think of it as a bunch of doctrines that were around in the 2nd to the 3rd centuries. I approach it as a system of techniques to subvert any power structure that you might be interested in subverting. So it's whatever power structure it wishes to subvert. By doing so, Gnosticism seeks to undermine the coherence of a system while never having to offer anything like a coherent alternative. Would you agree that when Gnostic forces seek to perfidiously redefine words, they target the least coherent language that defines the target system? Such a tactic is implied in Saul Alinsky's instruction to radicals, quote, make the enemy live up to its own book of rules. You can kill them with this, for they can no more obey their own rules than the Christian church can live up to Christianity, unquote. So I use the word blood to describe that which leeches on which the leeches of Gnosticism feed. This makes intuitive sense to me, but the best I can do is to define blood in this metaphor is to describe it to coherence within a system. Bingo. What do you think? Coherence is the blood that runs through the veins of a formal system while it is alive, but eventually runs slower and less vital as the system moves towards entropy. In the last Vidchat, Kurt commented that the third of your 3 pillars of civilization hypotheses, that of free humanistic inquiry, has the potential to undermine all 3 pillars, including itself. If my understanding of Gnosticism is correct, then it sounds like this 3rd pillar lets Gnostic tactics run riot. I mean, what have we had since the Enlightenment? Romanticism, communism, postmodernism, the list could go on and on, all blending and overloading language to subversive ends. Considering this, does Western civilization require a 4th pillar to move forward? Is there some principle that humanity needs to grasp and reify in order to deal with the Gnostic corrosion, which appears to be as much an inescapable fact of life as death and disease? And my answer would be yes. I think essentially, Liebhaber, you're viewing Gnosticism in much the same way I do. It's an attack on a formal system or formal systems, whatever you wish, and the assault is, I think, coming out of that third pillar. But the problem is that third pillar is itself founded on the second one. So if you're to combat it, this is why I think the arts are so crucial, because you get to the stage within modern society of the Gramscian idea, Antonio Gramsci, the Italian communist philosopher, that it is only the process itself that you need be interested in, and you simply keep the process going on by infiltrating institutions and pushing a certain line. So all I'm saying is if you want to push back, you have to own the culture and the cultural institutions and start putting that specific transcendent intentionality into your artistic production. In other words, simply refuse to go along with it. Do something different. And doing something different may mean doing something very, very traditional, because no one expects that. All right. And grounding it very deliberately and consciously in those things. We're back to William Tiller's idea of an expressed group intentionality. Now, once that's done, I think the humanistic impulse is restored to the equilibrium and balance that it's been lacking. All right. So I don't know if that's making any sense. I was ready with better answers to your questions before everything went down, and I had to scramble to get a new feed set up. But I might revisit it later if I remember what I was going to say. So I'm sorry I apologize for that answer if it's not seeming too clear. But my answer is, yeah, you say in the chat room, gaining a deep and thorough understanding of the three pillars helps to combat it. Yes, absolutely. Because once you do, you'll see how that third pillar, there's a historical progression there that's not necessarily reflective of the ontological, cultural importance of those three. But once you understand that, I think that third pillar is restored to the balance that it used to have. It's out of balance now because everybody's forgetting the first two pillars, that you cannot have a moral order, a functioning culture or society without rule of law. You cannot have a two-tiered or three-tiered legal system. All right, now this one is Winston 1984 once again, and this is a long set of comment and question. And then after this, we have Karambit. And after Karambit, hang on, folks, the papers are sticking together. After Karambit, we have Baz with some very interesting questions. Some really cool questions. All right, so here we go. Winston 1984. Hopefully we won't go down again. It's actually 132. Anyway, he says, hello, Joseph. I may not be able to attend today's Vidchat, but will be in and out listening. But on to the business at hand. I came across something interesting, acknowledgments in recent research that I'd like to go over and parse through you, if you would be so kind. I want to cite a few quotations from Carol Quigley and Will Durant in the context of your cosmic war model and the surviving elites. I found another author who, like yourself, entertains the idea of a very ancient high civilization. This book was published in 1935. It's entitled The Story of Civilization, Our Oriental Heritage by Will Durant. And on page 107, he states this, quote, The giant statuary of Eastern Ireland, the Polynesian tradition of powerful nations and heroic warriors, once ennobling Samos and Tahiti, the artistic ability and poetic sensitivity of their present inhabitants indicate a glory departed, a people not rising to civilization, but fallen from a high estate, unquote. And then he goes on to mention, quote, the legend so fascinatingly transmitted to us by Plato of Atlantis, unquote. But then he proceeds to mention something that reminded me of a statement I read in Quigley the other day, which I will relate in a moment. And I'm noticing a pattern. On page 120, Durant has this to say, quote, tenacious dynasties of city kings seem to have flourished at Kish circa 4500 BC and at Ur circa 3500 BC. In the competition of these two primeval centers, we have the first form of that opposition between Semite and non-Semite, which was to be one bloody theme of Near Eastern history from the Semitic ascendancy of Kish and the conquest of the Semitic kings Sargon I and Hammurabi through the capture of Babylon by the Aryan generals Cyrus and Alexander in the 6th and 4th centuries before Christ, and the conflicts of Crusaders and Saracens for the Holy Sepulchre and the emoluments of trade, down to the efforts of the British government to dominate and pacify the divided Semites of the Near East today, unquote. Okay, so far so good. Let's keep this in the context of the cosmic war and the surviving elites. Next, on to Quigley, which again, when I ran into this statement, it was a head slapper, which coincides with your third way model.